Welcome in, Pirate fans, to tonight's podcast of the Rob Woodward Coaching Show, Week 3. Coach, congratulations on your win, and I think some people might have thought we'd just walk in there and put up 49 points in the second half, but it kind of took, or in the first half, but it kind of took us a while. What was your thoughts on the game?
Well, I'm not trying to make excuses for anything, but there was a lot of factors that came in terms of our first away game. We had both our scrimmages at home, and a big packed house Ironton game. You go to a fairland, you got your guys on the road, you got them in a place that has grass, doesn't have the same turf, all those kinds of factors, and I had to get on the guys. I didn't like their initial. The way they came out of the locker room, the way that they were doing things there early on. But Fairland, hats off to them. They had some guys up front that were doing a nice job reading on some keys that they saw, reacted well. Our guys stepped wrong. They stepped right and really, stopped us on that first drive. And again, on another drive, we go after a fake punt. And there were just some things that we miscued, and when you come off a game of execution that we had in week 1, you don't execute as well in the next week. Get some things that you need to coach up and work on, both on the mental aspect and just the execution aspect of the game, and that's the way it kind of was there in the first half. And I definitely wanted to try to keep them out of the end zone there. They got themselves some good field position. Were backed up on a quick kick punt that they had, and they did a nice job executing that. And again, put us in bad field position at the end of the first half, and then were able to get themselves a score. But I like the way that we responded in the second half and some of the adjustments that we made, and I thought that was effective for us.
Coach, give me one guy in that game that maybe somebody maybe not recognized that you thought they did a good job in.
Well, one guy that I called out on the radio Saturday and talked to our team about was Trey Canary and his job blocking out on the perimeter. Obviously Tanner Holden had an outstanding game with some big catches, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Had great yards after the catch. But really on our pass plays, run plays, did a great job of blocking when need to to allow extra yards after the catch. You don't always see that. He had some catches in the game and did a nice job. But those are the little things aside from your catches and your yards and your touchdowns that's got to happen. And I really thought he did a nice job out on the perimeter. Peeled back one time and had a big block on one of their key defensive players. That was a key part of that play. And then there was a couple other plays as well. So I wanted to recognize him. I did that Saturday. I'll do that again here, as you ask. Who don't you see? And there's lots of times that people don't see those players and what they do and how they contribute. But he did a great job. It's
funny you say that because me and Willard, we were talking about that on our way up, that this team kind of prides herself on downfield blocking. And I think that's one of Wheelersburg's traditions, actually, because I remember when we played, we really wanted to involve ourselves even if we weren't a part of the play. And I could see why you would say that about Trey, because we thought he did a great job doing that.
Well, there were 3 touchdowns called back in that game because of holding by the receivers out there. Hey, as a coach, I'm not upset about any one of those penalties because those are aggressive penalties that those guys have gotten themselves out there. They're in the right position, and they're locked onto their blocking their guy. There's a lot of teams that wish that they had guys that would just get out there and get their hands on the DBs. Now, they need to make sure they reposition their hands, and we've got to coach that up. But as you mentioned, thankfully, those guys are wanting to be as aggressive and an impact on the play, and they've got themselves out there. And I tell them all the time I'm not going to fault them on that, as long as it's an effort play that they're trying to make and ensure that their teammates are getting as many yards as possible.
One thing, too, about that game was it seems like there was I want to maybe say flow or I don't know what word I want to use, but just seems like nothing was in sync. How do you keep your guys focused when a game is like that?
Well, and that was a challenge there at halftime as I talked to them about the fact that, we feed off of the energy that we create at our home stadium and that we create, the motivation that our guys create with one another. And, you're out there on that grass. We practiced on grass all week. But our grass was different than their grass, and
right.
and trying to make sure that 16, 17, 18-year-old kids don't lose focus of what is actually taking place. And that's a football game. That no matter if you're playing in a gravel parking lot or whatever it is, you need to be blocking and tackling and being as physical as you possibly can be on every single play. And we've got to make sure that we create that energy. And we as coaches, I'll fault us a little bit, Well, one thing we all said was we kind of played how we had practiced. And we sensed that, but we've got to make sure we address that. And we've talked about it. And we've got to make sure that we come out better this week against a very formidable opponent in Portsmouth. Speaking of Portsmouth,
what is Portsmouth bringing to Ed Miller Stadium Friday that may concern your guys a little bit?
I like their game planning, their scheming. I like their discipline. I've just seen a consistency up front with the blocking on both sides of the ball. That is much improved than recent past. So, all those things you try to look for in your opponent, and they're putting together a good ball club that definitely has knocked off 2 wins here, and is going to be a challenge for us. And we've got to make sure that we're ready on both sides of the ball for some skilled players, but a team that's really playing together and gelling together. So that's something that when an opponent is playing together as a unit, then that makes them even that much more stronger. So we got to be ready.
When you guys go up against different opponents every week, obviously you try to stay within yourselves of who you are identity-wise, but obviously you got to make some sort of adjustments. What adjustments do you guys try to look at when you're making adjustments against each team every week?
Well, there's certain things that you're going to be able to do, you feel, against one team better than you can do against another team. And you try to work that each week and figure that out in practice. And maybe one team has a little stouter guys up front, and you've got to attack the perimeter and attack the downfield because you feel like you can exploit their secondary, or maybe one team has bigger guys up front that they kind of like to sit and read, and you can kind of work that. And maybe they've got their quick skill guys that come upfield more. And so, we always try to assess that, and that's what's the beauty of our offense. And the athletes that we have multiple ways that we can attack teams. And, that's the challenge of our coaching staff each week. We meet on Sundays and evaluate and try to come up with what's the best way to attack, and at the same time not become one-dimensional, because that's a big thing. We want to stay as balanced as we can. I was really pleased with the balance that we had last week. Obviously, went to the air and made some big plays with that. We didn't make as many big plays on the ground, but we were still consistent enough to where they had to respect our ground game as well as respect the pass. So, that's the challenge each and every week. And I think the coaching staff is, sometimes we may not hit it as right on as maybe we did this past week 1, but we're always trying to figure out what's the best plan of attack and where can we find the holes in that defense.
Yeah, this team's kind of opposite of what we've seen in the past. Usually the run opens up the pass, but this year it seems like the pass is opening up with the run.
Yeah, offensive line's done a great job pass blocking, it's been some go-to plays. When we got receivers out there and quarterbacks that can get it to them, and that's something that we've definitely been able to utilize. But I think that we're just going to continue to I don't want to really say evolve, but just get better and better each week at what we can do and what different players can do, as guys continue to. We're a young line up front across the board when you talk about game experience. So you look at a Russell scrimmage, you look at Chillicothe scrimmage and an Ironton game, the same game. They've got 4 game experience playing together. So, that's something that we're going to continue to work and get better and better. I was comparing it to last year a little bit, and a lot of the same things week 2 that we discussed last year we're discussing now. And, we just want to continue to see the growth that we obviously made last year. We want to continue to see that growth this year.
Well, one final question, and we'll let you go. And this one's your Bird fan question. It's from Preston James. He wants to know what was the most memorable game you've ever seen live, in person, high school, college, pro?
Well, I haven't been coaching 30 years. I've been 16 years, and I've seen a lot of them. I've been a part of them, a lot of them. I guess one of the most memorable games that I've ever seen was, I believe it was a regional final, and it could have been a state semifinal, but it was at Dayton Welcome Stadium between Hilliard Davidson and Colerain. And it was a game where Hilliard Davidson was backed up multiple times on 4th down situations where you're thinking, how in the world could a team go for it in this situation? And they did, and capitalized. And Hilliard ended up winning that game and going on to win the state championship that year. I believe it was 2006. They played the Minter and had some of those same 4th down conversion plays in that game against Minter. But that game was just such a battle in terms of really trusting in your scheme and trusting in Brian White. Obviously, our Woodward grad does a tremendous job, and I've talked to him multiple times on multiple occasions. And just that game, to me, as a young guy that was in the high school program, it just always sticks as something that I feel like I learned a lot about the game. And we had actually, the coaching staff, gone that year and spent some time at Hilliard Davidson's weight room facility and talked with the coaching staff and picked up some different things. So that was something that was, just kind of to watch it all play out from the summer when we had visited them, and then to go and watch them in a regional final game. And I hope that I'm right on the year there, because I know they've made 2 trips to the state to 06 and 08, but I think it was that 06 season, and that game against them in Colerain. If you were to go back and just look up any of the gutsy calls, I guess, to say that both sides had in that situation, and really formally Hilliard Davidson, and it was extremely impressive to watch.
Well, Coach, thank you so much, and we will talk to you after the Portsmouth game, and good luck.
All right, thank you. Go Birds.